Ambrose meets him with the right hand.
Yeah, it's Ambrose going for the superplex.
And here's Roman. You got company.
The upper mid-range marker market. This is where guns really start coming straight out of the box, ready to play a full NXL and Millennium season and beg for more. They pick and choose from both extremes of the market in the high and low ends, and come with a package that brings the perfect balance of quality and price. Value is what it's all about here. The three kings we have are the Shocker RSX at $700, the Empire Axe Pro at $700 as well, and the Planet Eclipse Gtek 160R at $800. These are the three finalists in this category. We will be ranking them as objectively as possible, Olympic style: bronze for third, silver for second, and gold for first. Also, I'll note that this is my list, in my order, so please, refrain from butthurt. There is no reason for you to be attached to your purchasing decision, as it is not a marital commitment, nor is it under attack here, really. So please, enjoy and admire these three pew-pew-pew machines for the worth of their merits. So taking home bronze, in third place, we have the Empire Axe Pro, and I'll be honest.
When I got my Axe Pro, I was super excited to go lumberjacking with it. The best part about it is that because it's so light, it's extremely easy to swing. Timber! Because of its compact shape, it doubled very well as a hammer, and in the end, the results are pro.
The 2015 Axe Pro makes third on our list for a mixed recipe of reasons. On one hand, it's the axe at its best, well, ever. And on the other, it's still an axe. It has kept that solid and unique axe shot. To describe it, it's the sudden pop of a poppet valve without the slam of a rammer. This design finds its roots in the King Cobra, a gun very few people have heard of. It is an inline poppet valve marker, but I've always felt that calling it that is a little bit misleading. Even with the word inline, I think of oblong marks and victories, bringing the concept of a stack tube poppet into a single tube, keeping the rammer and all. So for the axe, calling it a force-controlled poppet valve like in ZDSPB.com is a bit more fair to make a distinction. To shoot, the bolt is pushed forward by the solenoid. With the same air that sits behind the poppet, it clears the bolt guide, releasing a small blast of air inside of it to push the poppet open, which will in turn release a large blast of air to fire the paintball. When the sequence is over, the solenoid will stop pushing the bolt, and the spring return will take the bolt back to its original position. This is why velocity is adjusted in the rear, to control how easily the poppet can open, and not through the regulator to control how much air pressure goes into the gun. The resulting shot is tushy and feels gentle and overall very pleasant to shoot, but it does rumble a noticeable bit, and the sound actually stands out in the distance. As far as how it's built, I think this is what the original axe should have gone for from the very beginning, but it doesn't mean it's perfect now, because there are a few things that I just shake my head at because they almost got them perfectly right, but missed a few little things. For example, I like that the feed neck uses a 2-screw setup where it clamps to the loader on top and the body on bottom. What I don't like is that it doesn't actually clamp to the body. What it does is clamp to a collar that threads into the body. This unscrewed itself for me in the worst moments and was the cause of a fair bit of frustration. The gun was also designed to work with only 2 Allen key sizes. This might seem like it's simplifying things, but this actually led me to strip some screws, including the ones on the feed neck, to make things worse. This wouldn't have happened with larger size screws if they hadn't shied away from them. Other than that, everything functions very well. The on-off ASA is super easy and straightforward, the trigger is very well fitted, and uses a very pleasant repelling magnet for tension. It feels floaty with the same amount of tension at the start and end of the trigger pull, making a fantastic trigger overall. When holding and pointing it, the gun itself is small, and that's a bit of a problem for me. I have big hands and long arms, and though this is an improvement from the original axe, it only takes that gun's ergonomic problems and just dumps them elsewhere for me and brings new ones. The result is a natural point of aim that for me is just a bit low, and that's cost me some pretty important shots across the field. Finally, it features what I think is the best board out of these three guns, the Redline. Very neat, very extensive, and with the easiest navigation thanks to its little joystick. But unfortunately, this great board isn't enough to help the gun outclass the other two, so it earns its place in third. Taking silver, we have a legend resurrected. Actually, let me correct that. The little brother of a legend, resurrected, injected with steroids, and given its older brother's name, the Shocker RSX. I've got to admit, last year when a mysterious company called SP released a gun called the Shocker, I was pretty, well, shocked. Though I must say that in this list, this is the gun I've had least time with. I do feel like I know what it's all about. It's a fantastic gun, very elegant, extremely light, easy on the eyes, and put together on both the inside and out pretty well. Its operation finds its roots in the Smart Parts Ion, an electronic paintball gun that at the end of the day was nothing more than that, an electronic paintball gun. But it was cheap, and it sold well, so it was a very popular gun and had a huge amount of aftermarket parts, but I'm digressing. The way that this unbalanced blow-forward spool valve drivetrain works is very simple. The bolt is held in the rearward position by air pressure that comes from the solenoid, and the bolt itself is a long stem with two tail O-rings at the rear, and at the front it's got the bolt face itself. When the bolt is in the rearward position, or the resting position, the chamber is filled with air at the inline regulator's pressure. When the trigger is pulled, the solenoid vents the air that is holding the bolt in place, and then the pressure in the chamber forces the bolt forward. In this forward position, the two tail O-rings seal the chamber's air source, so when the valve seal is broken, only the air that is already in the chamber is allowed to escape to fire the paintball. Then, the solenoid pushes the bolt back to the rear, and the chamber can recharge for the next shot. How the RSX improves this system is by basically making the bolt incredibly light. This way, it carries less momentum and can hardly be felt moving around inside, so the shot is really smooth. The gun itself is built to be as light as possible, so keep in mind that despite the cycling of the bolt being very smooth, every reaction has an equal and opposite reaction, and with less weight on the gun, you're gonna have to put your part in to fight that reaction. But hey, paintball gun kick is insignificant anyway. The trigger is a very well designed breakaway magnet trigger. This means that you'll have tension on the start of the pull, and it gets lighter and lighter, and when you let go, the return is fast. The feed neck is a mini Q-lock, I think that's what they're calling it, I'm not sure. I had some trouble with the lever getting loose while adjusting toollessly, I'm not sure if that's a word, so I think an Allen would be required in some cases to get it to hold the loader perfectly, but other than that, it's a pretty good clamping feed neck. Definitely not as bad as what we had on the Axe Pro. For the barrel, I'm sort of gonna go on a mini rant here. Not about the barrel itself, but about the general opinion with freaks. So yeah, it comes with a freak barrel, and I'll disagree with those who claim that it's the best barrel in the world. Not only will I disagree, but also tell you why it isn't the best barrel in the world. Though freak inserts are nice to have, very convenient, and obviously feature an inexpensive way to bore size paint, we've learned a lot about barrels since the early 2000s when freaks kinda came about, you know? Like how paintballs can keep accelerating even after 5 inches of control bore. That's why Dye's boomstick, Eclipse's shaft, Inception Stellas, Empire pipes, Lurker Eigen barrels, and a few others have way longer control bores. Also, how the direct paint-to-bore matching blow test has been proven to create greater inconsistency than either overboring or underboring. This is actually a really good topic for another video, so I'll save the rest for that. In short, yes, the Freak is a fantastic and proven barrel system, but it's not the end-all be-all barrel, because there is no end-all be-all barrel. Like I said, that's a topic for another video. Now, there's a reason this gun didn't take gold. Even with its $100 price drop from the original $800 MSRP, it does what I like to call picking pretty over practical. It's pretty to have a hoseless setup like this, but I wouldn't say it's practical to have unregulated air flowing up, down, and around the gun, and have it sealed between the frame and body with standard O-rings. It's pretty to have a one-piece setup for both marker body and the regulator housing, but it's not practical to take apart the regulator like this, especially since it requires Allen keys that aren't even included with the gun, which is questionable. It's pretty to have a push-button bolt release like this, but it's impractical to not have a failsafe to prevent you from ejecting the bolt when the gun is gassed up, something that the Axe Pro had. There's probably a couple more, but I'm not going to get into them because you get the idea. In the end, this is the best shocker ever made, regardless of all of this. And though deep down it doesn't really follow the shocker's heritage in the core areas, it would be unfair to say that it's of lesser quality than it actually is for being based off of the Ion. but also too generous to say that it's anything more. It's just a sound gun for its price, and it earns the silver medal here. For number 1, it really is no surprise. The Gtek 160R. This is the gun that I shot for the second half of 2016 almost exclusively. And no, it's not number 1 on the list because I shoot it. I shoot it because it's number 1 on the list. The Gamma Core is what powers the Gtek 160R, and it has to be said, this is, bar none, the most reliable spool valve bolt system ever made. I've gone over how it works in detail in the ordinary Gtek's review, but in short, there's a massive shift of energy that allows the bolt to accelerate with a lot of force, but with controlled pace, making the bolt's throw unstoppable by any conditions, neglect, or abuse. It also never requires fine-tuning, it simply works, quite literally a pick-up-and-play marker. Surprisingly so, the smoothness of shot doesn't suffer from this. I would put it just behind the shocker for smoothness of operation, but with higher efficiency figures, the absence of the need for conditions tuning, and the clear advantage in reliability, I have to place the Gtek 160R's shot ahead here. And as I said, reliable and idiot-proof are the traits that give the Gtek 160R its place here. The AT pipe, despite being external, is the most reliable air feeding system on this list. It beats the relay system on the Axe because the relay is not user-friendly, and it beats the gas-through system on the shocker because it's simpler, so there's less places for it to go wrong, and because of that, it's more dependable. Ergonomically, I like that it's the most stretched out setup here too, in a distance that I consider to be perfect. It provides a very stable shooting platform, and also, though this is a point of personal preference, I feel that the rubber grip on the front improves ergonomics incredibly. The trigger here uses a leaf spring for tension. This means that tension builds up deeper into the pull and bounces off your fingers very easily for high rates of fire. Feed necks are a simple part of a gun, but they're easy to make small mistakes on, as we saw with the Axe Pro. But as far as I'm concerned, Eclipse feed necks in general are always excellent, and there is no exception here. It works great. It does what it's supposed to do, and there's no problem with it. Now, going back and comparing it with the shocker, when I compared the ordinary Gtek to the shocker RSX, I essentially came up to the conclusion that the Gtek, despite being a few $100s cheaper, could compete with the shocker because of how it performed. The advantage the shocker had over the Gtek was that it was all metal and a high-end build. The Gtek 160R took the very best the Gtek had to offer, put it in a Geo 3.5-esque body, and competes with the shocker directly, and personally, I believe it defeats it. I do have a full video review on the Gtek 160R that you can check out if you want to hear everything I have to say about the gun, but to stop this video from getting any longer, overall, the Gtek 160R is the most solid offering in the upper mid-range marker market. Its reliability, ease of use, how idiot-proof it is, how well it's put together and therefore how easy it is to take apart, how well it points and how well it shoots, have earned this gun the gold medal, and there are people disagreeing with me already. Okay. Here's this. If you disagree with me, please just post a comment below ranking these guns or adding a different gun that you believe should be here. This is just a fun discussion about paintball guns, and I'm just some dude on the internet with a different opinion than you. I mean, how bad could it be?
Not good.